Let's try this. Let's try this live stream this morning. YouTube is YouTube's got an interesting paradigm going now, and I don't necessarily know that I like it, but I'm gonna check it out and see if it actually takes this time, and it does. Wow! So if I go to YouTube and I actually start it on YouTube, it previously it would just trigger, and I gotta get that sorted out. We just gotta get that fixed. All right, so we're going to go ahead and leave the station this morning. I'm just going to make sure that CouchBot's firing, and I want to double down and make sure that we actually have audio on this side, and it looks like we are firing, which is good. We got audio, which is nice. Welcome back, Chris Courtney here, New Pragmatic. It's time for the feedback loop. It's so good to see you. I'm going to shut down my link to YouTube because I really hate looking at myself, looking back at me, looking at myself. That's kind of weird. We've got Maddie in here. We've got Brenna, or I'm sorry, Bren's in here. We've got no, not Katie, Abby. Abby's in here as well. A little discombobulated. The whole having the different workflow for YouTube is messing me up. And equally messing us up this morning is, I'll just go ahead and share my screen and show you. So I was trying to get things synced up with Maddie, because she's got some typography she's pulling in from Creative Cloud. And, I've got a Creative Cloud account. I was like, oh, well, I'll just pull in her fonts. And I ran into this. I kept logging in, and I kept running into issues. And apparently, like, Adobe is down. Major issues across the board, and you just can't work with it. So if you're trying to get into Adobe, and if it's giving you issues, just know that this is a really good web URL to keep handy, status.adobe.com. If you come there, it'll tell you pretty quickly. And as you can see, as of 9:06 this morning, which is basically now, this is why I'm having trouble logging into the Adobe suite. So so that said, always know where you can check on the status of your tools. Figma has something similar. Any sort of cloud-based provider will have something similar. This is actually the first time I've had an issue where Adobe has gone completely down. I've had it happen with Figma once. It's happened with Figma once. So it's almost like, and Google, it just happened last week. So that's the one rub with these cloud service providers. They build great tools. They allow us to do amazing things. But when they go down, you're just like, I guess it can't work. Luckily for us, we're not really using Adobe. We're using Figma. We're just using Adobe's fonts. So I'm not going to be able to edit and do the things I'd like to do. But that said, let's go in and look at Maddie's Visual Foundations Take 2. And it's funny, she is like big into magic right now. Inspired by literature and magic realism. So I'm guessing these books all are pushing for her to do this a particular way. She's utilizing this color palette, which is nice. It's a nice color palette. Lots of aqua. The yellowish orange is there for it's really these two ranges are very complementary to one another. Straight off the color wheel, or just directly across in that general vicinity. I like the typography because of the Adobe issue. I can't really dig in and get in too much on that. So I also like the basic way that you have gone through. I would rather, it's like, I'm Maddie, a senior UX designer based in New York, but I think that's the only way that you can. That's the only way you can break it on 2 lines. You could do it on 3 lines. I'm Maddie, a senior UX designer based in New York. You can do 3. Doing 2, you're going to get either Designer needs to come up, and that's the longer of the two. Or and based in New York then gets pretty short because designer is the longest word actually in this collection. Um, but it's not bad. It's just not ideal based on the phrases that you have here. Um, I'm interested in growth and equity. I believe product design is as much about the magic of planning. And see, that's what happens. We talked about this yesterday. When arduous work was on a break point, and because it was on a break point, it was very hard to leap over it. Here, it's in a spot where you can actually leap over it. It's very important. And this is one of those things when you're doing visual tricks with type, you have to think, how is this going to work responsively? Um, so I would definitely want to take a look at this and say, okay, what happens when I take this down to a phone? Like what's likely going to happen there? I'm not telling you to change it, just asking the question, presenting the question. My design career is brought to you by a past life of food service and blogging. So interesting to get the story out there very quickly. So select it works. I like this. So previously I picked some of my picked you some of my best works. Select it works. Just clean, gets out of the way of it. Growing Gerber. This is interesting. I like the big image. I like the focus here. It's interesting how I'm looking at how these are working with this. Like part of me wants to see this like. Well, first of all, I'd like to probably select all the things. Part of me wants to see this all aligned. So like while this is wide, this goes. But another part of me is just like, okay, well it's centered and that's fine. But I'm always fussy about this sort of stuff, and I try not to be. I mean, it's just I am me and kind of retentive like that. Um, yeah, there's just something a little amiss about the way these are stacking. They kind of feel like they're floating, and I'm trying to find more common ground amongst them. Like if this was here, and this was also here, and this was here, like there would be this kind of common alignment. Or you could go the other way with it. You could just say, oh, yeah, this is here and that's there. Just trying to make a little more uniform presentation out of it, because this isn't like it's all about placement for me. Like when you center it, it's like it's not quite sure where the center is. And that's always, I'm always trying to design these units together. It's not bad. It's not bad the way you have it. It's just and I do like the consistency in the typography. It's just when I look at the cancel. That's the Adobe thing. I can't pull in the font, so it Figma was like, you can't edit that. Let's look in here. Unveiling, growing, and onboarding modern parents to Gerber's first subscription-based product. So, remedying a findability issue, solving a findability issue via global. A discoverability, like discoverability is findability is not a phrase I hear a lot. I hear about discoverability. Is it discoverable? Is it findable? I don't know. I think maybe it's just fixing the remedying, solving a findability issue via global navigation, clear pathing, clear pathways, and a destination-worthy product detail page. Supporting modern families with a customer experience that unites DTC commerce, information discovery, and support services. So overall, this is fine. I think some phrasing, and it's typically the issue is like it just the remedying um, that word. Worst news ever. Love this treatment. Context or reaction. I would suggest when you go through just like packaging this together just a bit and like have this down here. When I look at I can't do it. I almost want to put that in like context in some sort of like italics. Um, but I do think like that's really strong. I'll put it back where you had it, but I think right now it's just kind of floating around and like something needs to become a unit, and right now it's like four separate pieces. So like tighten up, loosen up, tighten up strategically. I don't think I could get much looser than this actually. Like I could actually see that happening, but anyway, I'll let you dive in there. Um, Love this. Like anytime you've got client names that you can throw out there and say, "Hey, here's who I've worked with." That's social proof. That's directly Tedgel. I don't know if you've seen Tedgel's portfolio, but Tedgel's got all these great companies, Disney and Oprah and whatever. So like she's done that as well. Need a proper footer with social media links and things like that. Um, but I think overall this is going in the right direction. Um, I would look at your typography closer, but the Adobe. It's not your fault. It's Adobe. All right, so let's come over here and look at Abby. And Abby, Abby has taken her affinity mapping and brought it over to the personas. And Abby, you had a question about, is it bad to have both of these be teachers? And, should one be the administration? And no, it's not bad. It's not ideal. I could see you having two teachers teaching different ways, but I could also see you having a parent. I could, I could see you having an administrator. I could see you having multiple personas. There's no real limit on the personas. I just try to keep it focused on like who are we really building this for, and I'm not necessarily building it for the administration. I'm trying to point to the administration why this is necessary, and when you're talking to the administration, it's like, okay, here are the people that this is for. And so you've got your hybrid teacher, you've got your in-school teacher. Both have unique issues. I do think that if you added one, I would really suggest it's from the parent side. I know that's a little different than what you were asking, but again, it goes back to the reason that you've ended up here is because where the source of most of your data came from. You did interviews, but they were mainly with teachers. All right, so your goal is to spread that out a little more evenly, and when you do, what you'll find is that the people that you're building for tend to skew in different directions rather than into one channel. Goals: pre-recorded lessons, single program for assignment submission, allow students no screen but talking, provide interactive lessons, online programs. Frustrations: Wi-Fi quality disorganized with turn-in assignments to which program. Students don't want to be on camera. Scenarios: hybrid schedule, meets with students, 45 students on a Zoom call for 2 hours. Zooms with classes 20 to 30. Yeah, so those all work as things that she's doing. And I know that you added some secondary roles on your program journal, so I'll take a look at those as well. Goals: get bigger room. Frustrations: not enough space. Like it's almost like the goals and the frustrations are opposite sides of the coin. Find online activities. can't keep students engaged in learning, weak Wi-Fi, get school tech to improve systems. So again, it's very much the opposite side of the coin. But the scenarios really add color to what her day-to-day is. Like, she's in class, but everything's online only. Why is it online only? Well, it's meant to limit germ spread. Teachers are designing their own curriculum, but you know, I don't know if that's that's not really a scenario. That's a statement. Like teachers design own curriculum. Another thing might be spends significant amount of day designing curriculum. That's a scenario. That's something she's doing. That's not like I would never get into the. There's no guidance from the admin. I would just say, Logan here spends 4 hours a day designing curriculum. That's legit, and that's like, wow, that's a big chunk of her day, which that gives you an idea of what she's up against, because she's also got to teach the class. She's got to teach the class, got to build the curriculum, got to teach the class, got to build a curriculum. Got to wipe down the 20 chairs. Like, how is she supposed to do all this? All right, it's pretty good overall. If I was going to add anything, I'd go parent route. Okay. By the way, Funko Land was fun. If you missed it, like, Eve was in here drawing. Eve was working on Ultraman. As you can see, Eve was like doing some crazy stuff. Dan came in. Dan did this amazing visor on. Like, look at that. Looks almost like it. Just great work. Charlie came in as well, and he was actually working on the visor too. I get the feeling that he was doing it more freehand though, which is amazing in and of itself. And then Charlie was doing Inspector Gadget's hat. So thank you to everybody who participated on that yesterday. Actually, Charlie did the whole Inspector Gadget, which is fun in and of itself. All right. So let's see. Bren. Where's Bren at? Bren, this is you. Okay. So you've gone in and added some additional color on the matrix. You also, like, from yesterday, we dove deeper into naked sports, and it looks like that thing's not there. So you definitely changed up your summary here. Like a lot of the summary, basically half the summary was chopped out of this to make room for what's going on with COVID. So I'm really interested. There's no mention of COVID anywhere on the site, not in the FAQ. Also in the rules section where to see if they require any PPE. Again, no mention of COVID. I signed up for the newsletter to receive important updates, so I'll report back if any mention of COVID happens. They're holding regular events. This is really interesting, and this is something that I can't emphasize enough. When you are doing research, if a company has a newsletter, you should sign up for it. You can always like bail out, but you don't know what they're going to reveal in that newsletter until you receive one. And it could be nothing. It could be just like static updates that you see on the site. It could be something that is really revelatory to what they're doing as a company that could be giving you a competitive advantage. You just don't know until you sign up. All right. Same thing goes for their social media. You don't know what's on their social media until you go check it out. And one of the ways that we were discovering that Naked was shut down was that they just hadn't posted anything in a long time, and they hadn't updated their site in a long time. But the site not being updated in a long time, that a lot of people don't update their sites. But when you go to their social media and it's also been dead for an equal amount of time, that gives you a hint of what's going on. And these two things together aren't confirmation, but they are interesting. Okay. Let's take a look at Austin CC or SSC. Gosh, can't read. A COVID alert banner is prominently displayed at the top of the site for their COVID page. They provide members with two options: play remaining games ASAP, get credited back for the remaining games. They also provide status updates for venues in the area, update it regularly. They post regularly on social media. So this is like Austin Sports and Social Club taking this clearly more seriously than ATX. It's interesting. So, questions for future consideration. What are potential ramifications of omitting COVID content? How will our brand be impacted by addressing not addressing COVID? It's interesting. How can we better streamline comms so that members automatically are notified about COVID updates when the page is refreshed? Can we provide additional resources about COVID via external links? So these are good observations, and I feel like this is now, everything you have here, like pricing structure, likely target audience, competitive advantages, like those are all good, and it's nice to see like your heuristics testing. You've got these heuristic notes, but here you're like lifting out. You want to, when you're talking with a client, the last thing you want to do is like hand them your heuristics test or hand them this spreadsheet. Like this is a way, your competitive matrix is going to be a way is your base of information that you'll be building your recommendations out of. It's not something you hand over to the client. Now, if the client says, "Can I see your research?" Sure, hand it to them. But you don't just like go, "Here you go." But that said, I think that now the first pivot for you, Bren, was okay. I was looking at platforms, and what I need to be looking at was competitors. And then you're looking at competitors, and this is COVID focused, so I need to be paying attention to how those competitors are really addressing COVID. And now you can see there's two distinct paths. One, completely ignore it. The other is much transparency as possible. What would you suggest? What would you tell a client who had two competitors that were operating in distinctly different ways? That's an interesting problem. And then one competitor that appears to have been killed by it. I mean, this is, when somebody says, "Gosh, we've got a problem," and you look around and you're like, "Yeah, one of your competitors was killed by the same problem." Yeah, you probably do want to figure that out as a client, as a customer. You got to figure that out. Otherwise, you'll be out of business too. So I think this is really good. I like the updates. Now you're heading into the distillation phase, where it's time to make a recommendation based on what you've seen. Remember where you're at, and I'm going to switch my screens back over. Remember where you're at on a project like this is very much the point of, here's what we think you should do after a initial look at the space and kind of taking in what the range of possibilities are. This is not a totality sort of thing. This is almost like a client or an agency is bidding. Like, here's what we think you should. We took a second, we looked at the space. Here's our recommendations. Here's what we think you should do, and our total price would be blah. I'm not getting into the total price because what we're mainly coming up with is based on a competitive look at the space and taking into account everything that's happening in the world. What would you do to put this company on a better path? And so many of the things that we do in product design is about finding that product market fit based on reality. You're not hoping for perfect conditions. You're taking in and making sure that you're aware of the current conditions. And that's the real key. We talk about systems design. Well, the system here is a world where COVID exists, and we need to like, you can make money off of people, but you hope not to kill them, in the process. I'm not anti-capitalist, but I am pro-human, and I do want to make sure that whenever we're putting something out there into the world, it has the safety of its user in mind. And I think you're taking those steps, Bren, and I can't wait to see what your recommendations are, because everybody's going to have a different take on it. So this is where the data and the stakeholder desires and your opinion all come together. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been great to have you again here on this this version of the feedback loop. I look forward to meeting with many of you later today, and otherwise, I will see the rest of you tomorrow. Take care.